Okay, welcome to The Actor and the Engineer. My name is Paul James, and I come from the acting background.
And I'm Josh Knapp. I'm a broadcast engineer.
Here we go.
All right, today we're going to do pretty much just a straightforward review, I think. Well, it's not going to be straightforward.
Discussion.
Nothing straightforward. And yeah, it's not a review either.
Yeah.
A discussion of the movie Top 5. It's Chris Rock's foray into filmmaking. Well, not foray into filmmaking because he's made other films, but his foray back into filmmaking. So after a while of being absent, although he did do Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2.
Yeah.
But anyway, before that, we're going to talk about some upcoming movies that are going to be coming out here soon, and we're just going to go over a couple trailers that we've seen. More than a couple, maybe. Because I got a bunch on this list.
Yeah, I only have like 5 or 6.
Oh, really? I don't know.
I looked at them, I said, okay, let me watch them. And if it made me remember it to write it down, then I thought we should talk about it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, what's your first one?
Well, of course, the Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation.
Yeah. It looks good. I mean...
It does.
It looks good.
It's fun.
I like the series. I like him. I like Simon Pegg, more. And he's like in 3 or 4 trailers that I saw just recently. And, it's an action film and it's done with some forms of substance most of the time. The characters are well drawn. Jeremy Renner, you can't go wrong. And then you end with what I love about doing the trailer show, by the way, is there's no spoilers. Because all you have to do is look up the trailer or go to the movies and you're going to see the trailer. So it's not like we're giving anything away. But the end of it, how do you keep topping yourself in a series like that? How do you keep doing it? How do you keep doing it? How do you keep doing it? And every single one, they seem to do it. Ghost Protocol, which was the last one, correct? Mm-hmm. He's hanging outside that window, which he actually did.
For real.
That's just, and first of all, let's just say he's 52, 53.
He's above 50, yeah.
I have never looked like that in my life. I don't know, even in my dreams, I've looked like that. I can't believe he looks that good. Tom Cruise is who we're talking about. Yep. He is in mad great shape at 52, whatever it may be. 52 is nothing nowadays if that's what it looks like.
He's 53.
Oh my, can you get over that when you...
he's 52. He's going to turn 53 this year.
Yeah, 52, 53. I mean,
you're
tomato,
right, though. I can't imagine.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's his job to be like that, but still, he has to keep that up. So that's impressive.
You know what's also cool about him? I'm just going to jump in real quick.
That's cool.
Is that I've heard him do some interviews and some like more long form interviews, and he watches a movie a day. That's like a thing for him now. He has the ability to do that, but even when he's shooting, he will still watch a movie a day. Like he watches lots of movies.
I'm wondering how he does that. Like, does he watch a full movie or does he watch a half an hour here, half an hour there?
I think he watches. I mean, that's what he was saying in these interviews, is that he watches a whole movie a day. I mean, full movie a day.
Well, you can hear it when he's talking in interviews. You can hear his love for what he does. Mm-hmm. And, I know he's gotten a lot of grief because of his relationships, his beliefs, and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. As always, I separate all that stuff. None of that stuff is important to me. When the lights go down and the lights go up on the screen, then that's where, that's what's important to me. And I think, people just need to cut him a break sometimes. People need to cut people like that a break at some point. But back to the trailer, they keep topping themselves. How are they going to top themselves again? And it ends with him hanging on the side of, it has to be.
It's like a C-130. It's a cargo plane.
Yeah, it's huge. And he's telling Simon Pegg, who's on the ground, open the door, and not that door. And that's how the trailer ends. And you're thinking, he is hanging on the side of a plane, and there's not a split second you don't believe.
Because he is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's the best part, is that nowadays they have to be in front of that and say, like, Tom Cruise actually did this stunt. This is not trickery. It actually happened. There's footage of it when it was being shot. It's not fake. Because, you've got movies like Avengers where, it looks real.
Yeah.
The things that they're doing look real. And this also looks real. But it was real. So
that's crazy.
And he's and from what it sounds like, he was all for it. And he's one of the producers, like executive producers of the series. So, but he was all for it, and he was, I don't know how much insurance or whatever they had on him at the time. They probably shot that last too, is my guess.
In case he got hurt, I guess.
In case he got hurt or worse.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, but they think about stuff like that, where they shoot. Well, let's shoot this last just in case. Bad things happen.
So what would you rather do? Would you rather hang on to a C5 or a C-130, whatever it was, or hang out that window in Vegas?
It'd be the C-130.
Really?
And it wasn't Vegas. It was in like Dubai or
Oh,
something.
was it Dubai?
It was
Oh,
like
the
it was
tallest building. Yeah,
in the
you're
world.
right. You're
It was
right.
crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would rather do the C-130 thing because it's like
Really?
flying. Yeah,
Yeah, forget it.
that'd be fun.
No, sir. Good luck with that. Good luck with that, Mr. Cruz. No, thank you. I'll take the green screen any day.
Yeah,
But-
but I think that you're right. I mean, they're trying to figure out different. I mean, it's similar. It seems like the plot's similar to the last few times, but I felt like the whole series went up a notch in Mission Impossible 3. I mean, you got Philip Seymour Hoffman as your bad guy, and just the way that movie starts is just like
Yeah.
crazy tension with the countdown from 10 to 1, and I mean that was kind of like it raised it a level, and that was J.J. Abrams. That was one of his first big movies.
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. So have you seen all 5 of them? Well, 4 of them at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember the first one. Like, I was all about the first one. It was exciting. It was, Mission Impossible and like the music. I even had like the CD single of Adam Clayton and
Larry Mullen Jr.
There you go.
Yeah.
I had that single of those guys doing their version of the.
Yeah, they won a Grammy for that. I
they
think. I
really?
think so.
Oh, cool.
I think so, or nominated one of the two. I think the 2 members, who most people don't know their names from U2, have more Grammys than the 2 that are famous for their names, Bono and The Edge. So yeah,
Wow, that's
that's
crazy.
cool that you had that.
I did.
Yeah,
I
it's
might
a good
still have it
it's a
kicking
good
around here
version of
somewhere.
it too.
No, I loved it.
Yeah,
I
they
loved
kicked it up a little bit, but kept it the same, made it a little funky, a little dancing. Yeah, it's good. As a matter of fact, what I was going to say was the reason why I brought it up, whether or not you've seen all of them at this point, is usually series get weaker as they go along. The Die Hard films started to get weaker. The last one was
yeah.
really kind of
I
weak.
didn't see it.
Yeah, it's really kind of weak. Just because it starts to get away from what it is. Once you get in a cab with Samuel Jackson and you're going around a city instead of one building, or the airport or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
For this series, for the Mission Impossible, I think the first one is the weakest of the bunch. It just continuously gets better. Because isn't the second one John Woo?
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
one's a De Palma movie, but it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a De Palma movie.
De Palma is one of those hit or miss guys for me. He just works or doesn't work for me. There are films that I think he's done that are brilliant. The Untouchables,
Scarface.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that film.
I like that performance.
Yeah, they're remaking that, by the way.
What?
Yeah, they're doing them. Well, that's a remake of a.
Oh yeah, of the James Cagney one.
Yeah. I think that Al Pacino one was the second version, and now there's going to be a third one. Yeah, we'll see. There's parts about that film that I really like, and then there's other ones that I don't particularly care for. But he did a movie called Body Double, which is sort of his ode, Brian De Palma, sort of his ode to Hitchcock, and it Melanie Griffin. Who else is in it? It's a guy who was back in the 80s. I can't think of his name right now, but he was in a couple films, and it's about an actor who gets brought into this plot to witness this murder. It's all a ode to Alfred Hitchcock. Every plot line that Alfred Hitchcock has ever had. Are you looking up Body Double right now?
Yeah, I don't know if it's Craig Wasson.
He's the lead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Melanie Griffith.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anybody else that I notice.
Yeah, but Brian De Palma didn't he do Carrie too? I think he did. Yeah, so he's very hit or miss. So the first Mission Impossible, back to the subject at hand, it was convoluted and confusing to me. And then I saw it again and I was like, oh, I'm making too much of a big deal about this. But so it's good, but the other ones have gotten better and better and better. It's unlike most series. So
Well, I think the second one went to straight action. I mean, you got John Woo coming out of Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And I mean, just those, even there's like a really cool flamenco. There's a lot of flamenco music in the middle of it, but there's this really kind of crazy flamenco thing. It's a dumb stunt, but it's these two cars are like interlocked together and they're spinning on the edge.
I like it.
It was cool, and like just seeing how everything slows down and how they intercut that with the flamenco. I was like,
that's
cool.
kind of where that all began. And then they've taken it even further where people are stepping out of the car as the car is spinning around and people are shooting as they're spinning. That's where that kind of began.
Speaking of that, can we move on to the next one?
Sure, transition.
Furious 7.
Yeah. Yeah, you
I'm
like this
really
thing.
interested. I don't think I've even seen 4 or 5, but I saw 6 and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you told me about that.
And I saw like the first one, and then I don't remember the second one. The third one didn't even have any of the people in it. It was like Tokyo Drift or something. It was happening over in Japan. And then everybody came back for the fourth one and then the fifth one. But the sixth one was a lot of fun. And you had to go into it like expecting dumb fun. I don't want to say dumb fun. I don't want to play it down.
It is what it is.
You have to be expecting, you can't like hang your hat on the plot necessarily.
Right.
But it is pretty cool. And it's neat that they get Kurt Russell's in the new one. I mean,
oh, is he?
Yeah, I don't know how much of a, big part he's got, but he's kind of in it a little bit. And I mean, and so they've got, The Rock's back and so all kinds of like just fun people coming together. And it's Paul Walker's last movie.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, they did a pretty classy job, at least from some of the reviews that are starting to come out. Cause I think it comes out Friday or really soon.
Yeah.
But some of the reviews that are starting to come out is that they did a really good job of bringing that together and making it, giving his character a send off as opposed to, not commenting on it or whatever. But he has like a brother that's
looks just like him. Yeah.
Which is crazy. And they were able to use some scenes from other movies or like raw footage from other movies that they shot and digitally Benjamin Button him or something. I don't know, but it's supposed to be classy, I guess. So I'm interested to see how they deal with that. So what's your next one?
Pixels. Did you see the trailer?
I heard about it.
Okay.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah, Kevin James.
And Josh Gad, is that?
No, I don't know who. Yes.
Okay.
And what's her name? I hate to say what's her name. It sounds so disrespectful.
Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah, True Detectives.
And Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. One day we're going to have to talk about.
And Mission Impossible 3.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
his wife.
She is an interesting actress. She falls into that category where people don't know her name. She's not a star, but she's in everything.
Yeah. She's beautiful, too.
She's totally beautiful. And she's talented. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to do a whole, I'm sorry, this is a film podcast, but we got to talk about True Detective show because that show is mind-blowing. I mean, mind-blowing because I just got through with it. And she's in it. But Pixels is about... Apparently back in the 60s, they sent out, or no, the early 80s, they sent out a probe satellite with messages from, hey, we're Earthlings, come visit us, peace on Earth, all this other stuff. And they also sent different things from our culture, one of which being, a few being video games from the 80s, Donkey Kong, all of the above. And the aliens respond, but they are not nice aliens. They are bad aliens, and they decide to come and try to defeat Earth in the form of 80s video games.
Oh,
yeah, it sounds cheeseball, but when I watched it, because I was like, what is this? What is this big Pac-Man thing on the poster? I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it does look cheeseball, but the idea, they're all standing on what looks like a live Donkey Kong game. It still looks like a computer screen, but it's 3-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And Kevin James is like, how bad can a barrel hurt? It's just the barrel, right? And the barrel, of course, comes down and explodes, and there's all this explosion and acid and all this destruction. Jeez. And they're like, yeah. And there's one really funny moment where Adam Sandler's like, no, we're all gonna die. And he's like, oh, sorry about that. Because, in those action films, in those action films, the lead guy is always like, we can do it. It was a play on that. So I chuckled, and I thought it was a great idea. And it reminded me of a modern day Ghostbusters, with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man coming to life. It was sort of like that. It's where are they going to take it? How are they going to make it work? It could work. It could not work. I'm not sure if you're going to be in on the joke or not. It reminded me of the Lego movie and the fact that it had a childhood feeling about it. But at the same time, it's a neat idea. I
think it's a Disney movie, right?
I'm not sure, but I think so. I think,
okay.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I just thought the idea was clever. I'm all about one good idea. And I thought old video games being used to destroy the earth, I'm in.
Yeah. It's hard to top. Wreck-It Ralph and Lego Movie, those are two really good movies.
I don't think it's going to have as much soul and substance, if you will, as those two films did. Mm-hmm. But, I like Adam Sandler and I like Kevin James. And I just thought it was neat seeing this gigantic, Pac-Man.
Man head.
Yeah, and they used little Mini Coopers as the ghosts. Yeah, it looked kind of clever. And the creator of Pac-Man is in the well, I don't know if he's the real creator, but he is in the movie, and he wants to just talk to the. I mean, it's a gigantic Pac-Man. Have you seen this commercial?
I've not seen the trailer.
It's about the size of a warehouse. It's huge, right? And it's going down and destroying things. And he's like, "Stop, my son! Look how much you've grown." He puts out his hand and he eats his hand, and he's like, "Kill this!" Yeah. So it looks funny. So Pixels.
That's cool. Great. Tomorrowland.
Yeah, I saw that trailer.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's George Clooney making another interesting choice. I mean, that is definitely a Disney movie, but the concept's neat, and it seems like I do like that whole world building thing that I keep talking about. Whether it's Brazil or whether it's futuristic like Looper or something like that. I like those types of things, and this seems to be a tame version of that. I don't think anything crazy is going to happen, but you can definitely tell that there's some time was taken in creating this. And you got Brad Bird, who is the one who is directing this movie. He's the one who directed Mission Impossible 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's all like connected.
Crazy, Tom Cruise has his hand in everything, I guess.
Smart man.
But yeah, so Brad Bird, who did he did The Incredibles.
I loved
which was
it.
a Disney movie.
Loved it.
And then he also did another Pixar movie, and I'm blanking on it. He did Ratatouille, I think. I'm going to have to look it up. But
that's a straight up cartoon, I thought.
It's a Pixar movie.
Ratatouille. Oh, it is?
And then he did Ratatouille, and he's done excuse me. He did directed, he's done The Incredibles, Iron Giant. That's the other one.
Oh,
which
that's
I have
good
not
too.
Seen.
Yeah, I liked it.
I heard it's really good, but it seems a little sad.
It is sad, but it's sweet though too.
Yeah.
It's well done.
Yeah, well, I do need to see it. Excuse me. All right. So, what's your next one?
Well, Fantastic Four, I watched again.
Yeah,
and I don't know
I
if
didn't
we've
watch it again, but
Yeah.
I don't think we've talked about it.
No, I don't think so either.
We might have talked about the casting.
Well, we did not on the show.
Oh, okay.
Because you had said that the one guy was playing Johnny Storm, and I was like, no, that can't be him because
Michael B. Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, no, they're brother and sister, Johnny and Sue Storm, and she's Caucasian and he's African American. I was like, well, how is that going to work? And obviously, I mean, I don't know because I haven't seen the movie. There's going to have to be some kind of
explanation.
Yeah, there's going to have to be because they're brother and sister. They have the same last name, and it looks like a complete reboot of retread.
Reimagining,
Yeah, I guess
yeah.
that's what it is. And Miles Teller as Mr. Fantastic. I mean, right there, I'm in, and it just looks.
You don't think they're too young?
Yeah, I do. I have a lot of issues so far with it so far, but at least what it looks like to me is they're going with their own idea of what the Fantastic Four is going to be. Just like when you see in the trailer, you see them sort of in costume, but his has got like wiring. Mr. Fantastic's got like tubing and stuff on it. I guess it's going to have some kind of reasoning why it can stretch
Help
with
him
him.
to stretch,
Yeah. In the original movie or the most recent movie, because there was a really bad B version movie about 20 years ago. Yeah, it was really bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like a hand on a stick raised through a car window was Mr. Fantastic's stretching arm. Yeah, it was really bad. And I've only seen parts of it, but in the original now, the costumes were or the uniforms were affected by the same thing that made them who they were. So that's why it took on the quality. That's why it was flame retardant. That's why it turned invisible, that kind of stuff. How they're going to do it in this new one, I have no idea. They are a bit young, but I think it's interesting. At first I was like, well, why is he black and why is she white? I don't get it. There has to be some form of explanation. It's got to be at least interesting for them to make that choice. The fact that they made that choice is interesting in itself.
Yeah.
And then the young guy who was in Billy Elliot, isn't he the kid who's playing the Thing now?
Jamie Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. So the casting is interesting. So we'll see. I mean, who knows? If they go too realistic with it, will it work? I have no idea. It's a guy who turns into a flaming torch and a woman who turns into invisibility. So how reality based can it be? But movies have a way of putting this grounding to films like that if they do it smartly, if that makes sense. Like they make it real world but then fantastical at the same time.
Well, I mean, I think Avengers, I think Marvel has done a good job at
Yeah.
that, and they didn't really jump into that until you start getting into Thor type things.
Right.
Once
Well,
you start getting, because I mean, Iron Man is, it's a guy in a suit,
Right.
and then you start getting into some
I'll
of
give
that
you an
kind
example
of
of what I'm talking about. Iron Man's a perfect example. In the first one, why is he gold and red? Well, because he looks at the gold and red car and tells the computer to imitate those two colors when he's creating the suit. Well, when my nephew saw that, he flipped out. He's like, it's because of the cars. He's red and green or red and gold. They gave him a real world reason for be that
reference.
color. In the comic book, you never question it because he's just always been that color. So I think that's smart. If they do that with the new Fantastic Four, then we'll be okay. We'll see.
Yeah. And speaking of Avengers, I mean, Avengers is coming out like May, I think. So,
Yeah, right around
that's-
the corner.
And so that trailer's been out for a while, but I mean, I love the choices that they made for characters. I love that Elizabeth Olsen's in it. I mean, I don't know how she's going to integrate or how they're going to use her or what. I mean, it's great to have an actress that, I know can act well, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know if how they're gonna, utilize her, I guess. But I am really interested in seeing Avengers. I mean, I love the first one, so I'm excited. What do you got next?
Entourage, the movie.
I never got into Entourage.
Okay, wait. Now, why is that? You've never seen the show or you just never got into it?
Well, I didn't have HBO.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, when I did have the ability to watch HBO Go, there were so many other shows that I wanted to watch. The Entourage was way low on. See, now I never lived in LA, so I mean, I could see somebody living in LA or somebody being part of the industry. Then I could see where that might be interesting. But to me, it seemed like it was, a step above, Real Housewives of Los Angeles or something.
Incorrect, sir.
Okay.
No, it's high quality show.
Okay.
My friend, I had not seen the first, I guess, 5 seasons. My buddy Terry in New York said, how can you, of all people, not have seen that show? And I was like, it just doesn't call to me. He was like, trust me when I tell you, watch the show. And I was like, okay. So I trust his opinion. He's the guy that we talk every Oscar day,
Oh, yeah.
on the Oscar night, Oscar Eve. And we do our picks. We've been doing it for 10 or 15 years now. And I value his opinion. So I was like, okay, first 3 episodes I'm in. It's one of those shows that has really a deep soul, but at the same time is funny, and it gives you an insight to a world that I'm not that interested in, the business side of the film industry. I mean, obviously that's probably why it never took from me, but it is a business, and there is a way things are done, and it's interesting to watch an up-and-coming star become an up-and-coming star with his 4 friends and his agent, or his 3 friends and his agent. And it's just got, it's got moments that are thought-provoking at the same time. You're like, oh yeah, it's funny. It's only half an hour long, so you're in and you're out before you know it. And also before you know it, the characters are attached to your heart. And Kevin Dillon's on it, Matt Dillon's brother.
Yeah.
And ever since I started watching it, I was like, he's the funniest thing on TV right now. And I finally eventually caught up to Real Time when it was on HBO at the time. And I luckily had HBO at the time. I just now recently got HBO back, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know. Life is good. Speaking of which, I saw a making of Fast and the Furious 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Michelle Rodriguez was doing a fight scene, and she was in a dress, and she said, this is the hardest fight scene I've ever done, and this is the first time I've ever dressed like a girl in a movie.
Yeah.
Why the two got put together, I have no idea. But Entourage is one of those shows that I think once you watch a few, you're going to really get into it. And I had said that Kevin Dillon, he is the funniest thing on TV at this point. And that following year, he got nominated for the Emmy. He didn't win for supporting actor. The guy who plays the agent,
Jeremy Piven.
Yes. He won like 4 years in a row, 5 years in a row. He is on point. He's not a likable character, but he's what you would imagine a real life agent would be. And it's Mark Wahlberg who produced this, and it's apparently based on
him.
Yeah, semi-autobiographical. And the reason why I recommend it to you is because remember when we were talking about the Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Scorsese commercial, and they all got paid $20 million. My point was, and you were saying, that's a bit over the top. Do they really need to make that kind of money? And I was saying that your name and your presence, your face, all of the above is your checkbook. It is what that's based on. And if you were to take less for it, people would think, oh, well, he doesn't even think he's worth this amount of money. Why should we back his next movie? That part of the world is in Entourage. The world of the business of movie making is in there. So it puts a perspective on it that I actually think you might enjoy.
Okay.
And I also think, when you were applying for the job here for broadcast engineer, you know that it's worth this amount of money a year average, and you're worth that amount of money. Well, what if you came upon a job and you were interviewing and they wanted to hire you, but they wanted to hire you at $10,000 less than what you make now? You'd be like, well, wait, the average is this, and I'm worth at least the average. Why would you want to pay me $10,000? And then you take that job, okay? You go a year or two doing it, and then you finally get in the door for a job that is making twice the amount of money. And then they look at your resume and they figure out you're working at this place, but you were working at this place for $10,000 less than you would. Well, why would they value your services? He went and worked at this place where they don't think he's worth this amount of money. So why would we pay him double? It's like that in this world of Hollywood, except for $20 million.
Yeah, it's like a staircase and you can't ever go down.
Yeah. And so to put it in perspective, why Scorsese and them would do a commercial like that, we wouldn't have a concept of what that means. And so Entourage is definitely a world you should look into because it'll start to shape the ideas of what we've been talking about. So it was fun to see the trailer. I can't wait to see the movie. It looks great. They have now taken it one step further. They keep taking everything one step further. He starts off as an independent movie actor, an actor on stage actually. And then goes and goes. He gets an agent. He becomes big, millions of dollars. Now he wants to direct his own movie. So that's where this film is taken over. So I'm interested.
That's cool. I've got 3 documentaries, just real quick. One of them's called Sunshine Superman, and it's about a guy who kind of started the phenomenon of base jumping.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which I don't really recommend. Seriously though, because working at a TV station, like we've had people jump off of towers of stations that I've worked at, and people have gotten caught in guy wires. They have gotten seriously injured, killed.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
That you know of?
Yeah.
That you've worked around? Or?
Well, not the people that I worked with, but yeah, the towers that because I've worked at multiple stations with 2,000-foot towers, so that's very attractive to somebody because they can, break in, climb up that 2,000-foot tower and then jump off of it. But there's these wires that go off of the tower to keep the tower straight so that it doesn't fall down, and they're called guy wires. And those guy wires, depending on how you jump off and what the wind's doing and when you hit your parachute, you can get caught up in those, and there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
Yeah, I can just imagine.
You could hit a bird on the way down and kill yourself. It's crazy stuff. So, jumping off of a cliff is, similarly dangerous, but at least you're not doing that on private property.
Right.
Whereas these people are breaking into buildings, breaking into private property and doing that. But they did get some amazing footage, and this guy was shooting like 16 millimeter film on a helmet cam. He was doing GoPros before GoPros were around.
Right.
And so, it is breathtaking footage. It's amazing, but the crotchety old man in me says,
does he live?
Don't do it. My guess is that he doesn't. The way that the trailer goes.
It's like that high wire guy
and the way
who
that
crosses the building on the...
Oh yeah, Man on Wire?
Forget about it.
Yeah, but the way that people talk about him, it's kind of like, he's not around anymore, is he? But anyway, so there's that one. There's another one called Lambert and Stamp, which, do you like The Who?
Love them.
Okay. These guys they wanted to make a documentary.
I saw this one too.
Good, yeah. So they wanted to make a documentary of a rock band, and then in the middle of going to make a documentary on, they settled on The Who. They're like, we don't want to make a documentary. We want to manage these guys. And they've been the managers of The Who, I guess, since then. I don't know. But it doesn't really tell you exactly beat for beat what happens, but
Right.
that's the good thing about, that's a good trailer. It gets you interested.
Yeah.
And I want to hear about, how all that started. And I mean, there's obviously stuff that went on. I mean, Keith Moon, the drummer, died. So,
Yeah, he was something.
yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah.
And then the last one is I Am Big Bird, and it's Spalding. I can't remember his last name.
Gray?
But no. The guy who is who did the voice and was inside Big Bird, and it's all about him and how he, how he made that his character. He also does Oscar the Grouch too. So yeah, I know.
That's like
But
two sides of a coin.
I know, but they played his voice on both, and I'm like, I didn't even put it together. But yeah, it's close enough to where you could see how it could be. You know how Jim Henson, Henson does certain voices, and you can kind of tell that he's doing a couple of different ones, or Frank Oz or whoever. But so anyway, that one looks really interesting too. It looks like a good documentary. And then did you see Man from U.N.C.L.E.? That's not a documentary. But
No.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E. is, I guess it was an old TV show.
Sounds familiar.
But it's got Henry Cavill, Superman.
Yeah.
From
Okay. Yeah. No, I've
Superman.
seen a poster or something on this film.
and it looks slick. It looks like a new James Bond.
I think
from
it's
the
a
60s.
movie.
It is a movie.
Okay, but I mean, I think it was. This is a
was it?
remake.
Oh, okay. So The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was a
It
movie.
is a movie.
I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here on this film podcast.
Okay, so Robert Vaughn. It looks like
It's a remake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Okay, hold on. TV series,
Oh, okay.
1964 to 1968.
So it's like The Fugitive, but now. Oh, they set it in the 60s though, the modern day
Yes.
version. Oh, good.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. I was like, all right, I like it. And then, did you have any more?
Just one. Infinitely Polar Bear. Have you seen that with Mark Ruffalo?
No.
Where he plays a manic depressive who marries Zoe Saldana and has two.
She's everywhere.
Yeah, she is everywhere.
Scary. I'm surprised she's not in the new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, watch her show up. Watch her show up and fight Lupita Nyong'o for most interesting name in Hollywood. Anyway, he is manic depressive, bipolar, and they have two children together. And in the beginning of the trailer, he has had to move out of the house, which has already happened before the trailer began, I guess before the film begins. And it's essentially his wife, Zoe Saldana, comes to him and says, I need to go to New York, to Columbia, to the university to study, and you need to stay home with the kids now. And he's like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do that. And she's like, we don't have a choice. I have to do this. You have to stay with the kids. So it's all about him being a stay-at-home father with the issues that he has. And it looks like it's going to be a really great performance by Mark Ruffalo. Not that that's a surprise.
Yeah, imagine that.
And the name Polar Bear comes from the little girl thinks he's a polar bear, not bipolar.
Oh, jeez.
It's adorable, man.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's one of those ones where I think it's character driven. I think it's going to be a performance that's going to be watched, and it could borderline a little sappy, and I think there's a bit of an age difference between those two, Zoe Saldana and Mark Ruffalo. Like, I couldn't figure that one out, but that never seems to bother people in Hollywood. If it's the other way around, everybody flips out. But I guess they're going to have to do some kind of explanation about that, because she's 20 years younger than him or something like
Close,
that.
at least 15 probably. Yeah. I mean, I'd say at least 15.
But anyway, it looks like a small film. It looks like one of the ones that might come and go and maybe be a sleeper. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it gets an audience, who knows? But it looks worth watching just for his performance.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's move into our discussion on the new Chris Rock movie, Top 5.
In 2005, Time magazine voted today's guest the funniest man in America. By 2010, the former stand-up hit it big with Hammy the Bear 1, 2, and 3.
You got Hammy time! It's Hammy time!
You can also see him getting married to reality star Erica Long.
Where's my kiss?
Do we have to do this on camera?
Not on camera. It doesn't exist.
I don't feel like doing funny movies anymore. I don't feel funny.
Save some of that stuff for your Times interview.
I just want a decent story. You give me a couple of really honest things, I will be more than fair.
This is Chelsea Brown. She's doing a story on me. No snitching.
Come to me, baby girl. I'm gonna turn over like an apple pie.
You know what? You just ate an apple pie, you fat mother.
Things are changing. You need to wake up and smell the progress.
No. You things never change.
Thank God things
Hey,
change.
look at this black man trying to get a cab in New York City. Taxi, yeah!
I'll just give a quick synopsis of it. I had it pulled up here and then it went away. It is a comedian tries to make it as a serious actor when his reality TV star fiance talks him into broadcasting their wedding on her TV show. Bad description.
Yeah, that is kind
I
of.
should have read that before before I read it out loud. But it's much better than that.
Yeah, no, it's much better that he's a huge Hollywood film star. He's in a franchise.
He's a doppelganger of himself. I mean, it's really a doppelganger of Chris Rock.
Yeah, but I'm saying the plot line is he's a huge Hollywood star who's in a reoccurring series, Hammy the Bear.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and he's going to be interviewed by Rosario Dawson, and he's an alcoholic, and he's recovering alcoholic. Well, there's a iffy part of that too. There will probably be spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film,
well, I mean, but before we say that, I mean, we should say like whether they should go see it or not. So. But you should move on with
no, I was just trying to give a little bit of a better description. That's all, because that's
definitely.
very. And he does have a wife to be who is a reality star.
Gabrielle Union.
Yeah, sort of a Kanye, Kim Kardashian takeoff thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a statement about what's going on. So that's basically the plot line. There's a lot more going on in that description. So I just wanted to fill it in just a little bit. So
yeah, and you can tell. I mean, he grew up in New York City and. I don't know where, the Bronx or some not in Manhattan or something, but I mean he grew up in a in a rougher neighborhood. Maybe I don't even know if
it doesn't
was
look
rough,
that bad, but it doesn't look.
He wasn't Spoon. It wasn't Silver Spoon or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But anyway, so he kind of rose up, became famous, and then he was a stand-up comedian, and then he got into this Hammy the Bear phase. And now he's trying to reinvent himself.
Correct.
I mean, he is doing this Haitian slave movie, which looks absolutely horrible, and I love it. It reminds me of Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
The very beginning of that movie where they show some of those clips.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I think that Chris Rock is able to make fun of himself and be introspective and push people to think about things and to think about the state of entertainment in America and about what people think is funny, what people think is valuable, and I think he did a great job.
Yeah, I agree with you. In the first 5 minutes, I was like, wait, what's happening here? And then it kind of switches. And it's kind of a bait and switch at the beginning, because you think when you see Rosario Dawson and him walking down the street together, you think they're a couple, but they're not.
Yeah.
And then eventually you catch up to what they're actually doing. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm not laughing out loud. I'm not, nothing's making me want to stop the DVD so I can laugh or think about what's happening here. But slowly it takes over and it just is what it is. And, Chris Rock is one of those people who he's not only infinitely funny, he's infinitely watchable. He has a real heart on film. He started out, he was in New Jack City. He was the crackhead in New Jack City.
New Jack City.
Oh, he's crazy great in that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like a serious, dramatic part of crackhead. But, if you go back and look at even a clip of him, you'd be like, wow, I can see it's Chris Rock, but I can't see Chris Rock. And then I've seen almost all of his HBO specials.
And he was on SNL too. And I don't know what obviously he was a comedian before he was on SNL, but then went on past that.
But he's always done films in between. And he did Dogma. And Dogma's where I really went, wait a second. Who is this guy? I mean, it was years ago that I saw Dogma, but I was like, I keep seeing this guy. Who is he? And that's when I started taking notice of him. And then he did a couple HBO specials, and I was like, oh, he's funny too. He's a stand-up comedian. And his talent transposes into dramatic roles as well. I think this is not as deep as he can go, but this one's pretty good. He really teeters between buffoonish and dramatic, which is a really hard balance. But
But the comedy seems to be happening to him or around him.
Right.
And he's commenting on it, and he's kind of rising above that, as opposed to, it seems like some of his older movies. I can't say that I've seen, a lot of his other movies. There was one called Down to Earth, another one called Head of State, and it seems like it's like, let's take this Chris Rock character and let's put him in this situation, as opposed to let's write a movie about this person. Not like let's take this character and drop him in to. This is another episode of the Chris Rock in a different place show. It's not that. This is wholly, him having opinions on things and using the construct of a movie to put those opinions out there. And he does it in a good job. He does a good job.
yeah, he really does. Now, who did he direct it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he has a tone and a thumbprint without being too overbearing, and it's a little uncertain in places, and you can tell he probably had some indecisive moments where he's like, should I go here? Should I go there? It's not a perfect film. Not
Yeah.
that there is any such thing,
Yeah.
but the good always outweighs the bad for me, always. And
Yeah.
as soon as you cast Rosario Dawson, I'm good.
Well, I mean, she takes chances.
She totally takes chances. And the thing that I love about her is there's 1,000 things I love about her.
Yeah.
But you're right. She takes chances, and she's not afraid to be the girl in the joke. Didn't she do Clerks 2?
She did do
with the
Clerks too.
donkeys, and
Yes.
that's her.
Oh yeah, she's in it.
She's brilliant.
And she also did that movie with James McAvoy. All I can think of is
Oh,
Filth, but
yeah.
it's not. It wasn't
Shudder or something, or
No.
yeah, what was it called? Yeah, that was good. She was good in that.
She was good.
Let me tell you a little trivia about her. She is one of the 2 stars of the movie Rent, which was the movie version of the Broadway play. Only 2 of the characters were recast for the movie. All the rest of the characters are the original cast, okay? She's one of 2. She's outstanding in it. And she's the one who got the Golden Globe nomination. Oh, cool. And her musical numbers, they're outstanding. Like it's almost unfair. She's as beautiful as she is. She can act too. She's going to one day get that role that everybody's going to go, oh, wait, she really can act. Wasn't she in that Will Smith movie, 8 Pounds or whatever it's called?
7 Pounds.
7 Pounds.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, no, she's
But it was good.
very good in that.
Okay.
She's really, so as soon as I saw her walking around the corner with him, I was like, okay, I'm in. We're good.
Exactly.
And what
the movie I was thinking about was Trance, just to drop that in
That's
there.
what it
It
is.
was the Danny Boyle,
Yes.
James McAvoy movie. Yeah.
it's very well done. And she is interesting because you're uncertain about her, especially in that film.
Yeah.
And it's good to be uncertain about her, but you're uncertain about her in this one. You're like, I like her. She's beautiful, but I don't trust her, and I'm not sure why. And there is a reason why in this film without giving too much away. And what is the young lady's name who plays his soon-to-be wife,
Gabrielle Union.
I like her too.
Yeah, she was in, the only movie I really saw her in was Bring It On, which my wife really likes. And I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
It's
yeah.
fun.
Kirsten Dunst. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was from a long time ago. But I think she's been in, she's been in a couple other movies, but, and maybe a TV show or two. I'm not sure. But
What is her name again?
Gabrielle Union.
I get her and Gabby Sidibe mixed up.
And they're both in this movie.
Yeah, they're both, which is funny. Her
It
little
is funny.
cameo was funny.
It is great, and that's another thing is that Chris Rock knows how to plant things.
Yeah.
I mean these are normal movie things, but it's like this isn't his first rodeo. I mean he plants this little like subplot of like this guy named Silk who's the bodyguard / assistant of Chris Rock.
the character in the movie.
The character in the movie, played by J.B. Smoove, who's a stand-up comedian, and I never really got him, but in this role, he's great. He's funny. He's perfect. I couldn't imagine anybody else in the role, and that's saying something. But he loves big girls.
Yeah.
And he loves big women, and then all of a sudden,
Well, at first you think it's just like going to be a joke.
Yeah.
And you think on some kind of level it's going to be at the expense of a lady
no.
who was larger. There,
Oh,
when he
no.
first sees the girl on the side of the street, and it's the cop.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I love big girls," and she's like, "Keep walking." Or
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe it's going to start to be a tad bit disrespectful. I guess because that's what you're stereotypically used to. Maybe.
But he, you know,
It
you
doesn't.
can
It
tell.
weaves its way around to where he really does like big girls.
And then he runs into Gabrielle Sidibe, and he will not let her go.
And at first you don't really get it until you see him leering at her, and she's like, "Yeah, get up on my face."
Yeah.
And, it's hysterical. It's funny. You're right. It is funny.
Yeah, but I mean, it's stuff like that is peppered throughout the movie, and there's not extraneous characters. There's not extraneous characters, but he does a good job of like bringing in his friends and putting them in particular spots. Do you know the guy he goes to the XM radio station and is doing some like radio drops, like, "Hey, listen to
Yeah.
XM 101," and the guy that's in the booth is trying to tell him to black it up, but he's not trying to like say it. That's Brian Regan, who's a really good comedian.
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah, he's
No,
really
he's the
funny.
guy who says, "I need for more comedy."
Stank. No, he said, "I wanted to put some
that's right.
stank on
yeah,
it."
and then he says he. That's hilarious.
So
Put
there's
some stank.
they put people in there.
Yeah.
He puts his friends or his comedian buddies in there.
Yeah.
And intersperses them. Some of them play themselves.
Yeah,
Whoopi Goldberg, Adam Sandler,
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, that's hilarious too.
It's funny stuff, and they do play on their own, what their own people's perceptions of them. They play on that, just like Chris Rock is playing on that, and ultimately it gets down. I mean, I guess we could start getting into some spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's really funny.
Yeah, it's worth the rent.
Yeah, but I mean, it definitely has language, and there's some scenes that are of a sexual nature that may be a little arresting, but there's really, I think there may be a little bit of nudity, but it's not horrible. But anyway, so but when when they start getting into, I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. It happens, man. It happens. It's no worries. We could talk about 1,000 different things when it comes to this film.
So once they start getting into the party at the end, you've got Chris Rock. He has all his friends there, and then everybody kind of plays on their own people's perceptions of him. Jerry Seinfeld, you know, he's very buttoned up. Adam Sandler, he's just a screw up or whatever. But Chris Rock takes that on himself, and people have criticized him for not doing stand up. Like, he just doesn't go out and he doesn't do stand up tours, readily anymore. Especially since I think he made the show Everybody Hates Chris,
right?
Which I'm sure he's probably pretty set as far as money is concerned anyway, from that show and syndication from that show and all that stuff. But you can tell that he's scared to go up. Similarly, Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Did you hear about him? Like,
yeah.
he had amazing show,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then they gave him
yeah.
a bunch of money, and then he just like,
flipped out.
I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. I totally get that. People are like, "Wow, could you give up?" You have no idea the pressure that those people are under. None. I can't even conceptualize the pressure. I've only been on stage. Oh, I've been on stage quite a bit, but not like that. Not in that capacity. Not that pressure. Not that even close to that tier of level of stardom, even in my imagination. But to walk out on a stage with 5 people in the audience, let alone thousands. My sister once said, "How do you do that? How do you just walk out on
I don't know how you do it.
You just, you don't think about it. I'll tell you when it sets in is years later you think, wait, what was I thinking? Why
wasn't I more nervous?
Yeah, and maybe that's why it doesn't take as much of my life now as it used to, because maybe some part of me realizes that it is a panic-inducing. It's time stands still if you forget any moment you're supposed to have created on stage. It's been recreated in films and in plays where it's tick, 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 and it's literally like that. And you have dreams where you walk out on stage and you're like, okay, I know this is a play and I know I'm supposed to be in it, but I have no idea what the play's about and I have no idea what I'm supposed to say next, but it's your line. Oh. So imagine that on Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle's level. Mm-hmm. And if they decide, I don't want to do this anymore. It's this
What's wrong with you? What's wrong?
horrific story on the news. Dave Chappelle freaks out. Of course he freaks out. Of course he did. There's not enough Xanax in the world to keep somebody calm when you hit that level. I think it was Gloria Estefan said, there's nobody who can stand in that bright of a light for a long period of time without burning out. Nobody.
Yeah.
Without burning up and going away. So I think it's great that he has the kahunas to say, I'm not doing stand-up anymore. I think that's braver.
But he effectively does do stand-up in this movie.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, because I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, and what a lot of people have problems with, especially famous people, Jerry Seinfeld, or I mean, these. Well, first of all, Jerry Seinfeld doesn't need to do anything for the rest of his life as far
Never
as money
again.
is concerned.
Yeah.
But Chris Rock, for example, when Chris Rock, let's say Chris Rock does go up to Comedy Cellar, which is where they had him in New York City, or he goes to a place in LA, the Comedy Store or something. When he steps on stage, he's trying out new material, like initially, like let's say he hasn't been on stage for 6 months or a year or whatever. He's going to be trying out new material. That new material is not going to be perfect. The only way, it's like lifting weights. I mean, the only way to get stronger is to lift weights, but you're not going to be able to lift as much initially as you will later on. So his jokes aren't going to be as honed as the jokes that we saw in the movie. So the problem now, that back then they used to be able to go up to a room, and then some people saw him bomb, and he would try certain jokes. Half the jokes would work, the other half wouldn't, and then he'd move on. And then, people would kind of leave maybe, mixed feelings or whatever. Or even the people would be like, oh yeah, he was trying it out. Half the jokes were good, half the jokes were bad. But now you can pull out a phone and record the whole set and upload it to YouTube and say, Chris Rock sucks at
oh my
the
God,
thing
I
that
almost
he's
had a
been
brain
famous.
aneurysm just thinking about the panic that you must go through over that.
Could you imagine?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it gets posted.
Yeah, I
and
almost
it's
had a brain aneurysm just thinking about it.
Look how horrible Chris Rock
Yeah.
is at stand-up now.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And so that's why he doesn't want to do it.
I like your weightlifting analogy. When you go up on the stage, they knew you could bench 295. Now they're expecting you to bench 305.
And you're back to 150.
Yeah, and you can't do it. So you're exactly right. That's got to be crazy. So good for him that he just says, I'm not. I don't blame him a bit. You can't fault him for.
But he effectively does. It seems like this movie is kind of like shutting people up too. It's kind of like saying like, so fine, I'm not going out there. I'm not doing crazy huge sets. But here's some stand up. It's still funny. You're gonna like it, and and this is a movie to help you kind of understand or ponder what other people may be going through.
And it's also a statement about how whether or not we like it or not, Hollywood is typecasting, and once you're typecasted as a certain person, it's hard to break out. It's hard to go from all right to Academy Award winner Matthew McConaughey to True Detectives. It doesn't happen often. No. Whatever happened to him, he's always had that in him, and luckily he had the chance to prove it. But I think Chris Rock is also saying through this film, I can do work that is not just buffoonish. I don't know why I'm using that word so much, but I'm not Hammy the Bear. I'm not him.
Exactly.
I'm not the cut up guy. I have some soul. I have some integrity. And I think that's why in between all these films that we've talked about that he's done, or that you mentioned, he's done things like Dogma, where he played the 13th apostle. And he has some of the most poignant statements in that movie.
Sure.
And to just show up. And he was right there at the tip of stardom when he did Dogma. So I think this film is a statement about how once we think somebody is this way, we want to see them that way forever. But the thing that gets me about that is not that we want them to be stereotyped. It's that when they're stereotyped for 25 years, after about 25 years, we go, what, he can't do anything better than that? What, he can't do anything other than the comedian
All
bit?
of a sudden it's his fault.
Yeah, it's his fault. It's like, I always use the analogy of music. Their first album was better, and then you get to the middle of their career. Well, I like the older stuff better than the newer stuff, and then you get newer stuff on top of that. I like the stuff in the middle. It's too different now. But if they were doing the exact same thing that they were doing when you first liked the band or whoever it was, you would be saying, they're unoriginal. They've been doing this stuff for 25 years. Yeah,
you can't win.
So you make a movie like this.
Exactly.
Smart.
And at the same time, he's indicting critics.
Yep.
and by
In a
having
very interesting way.
by having the Rosario Dawson character, and critics now are different than critics, before. I mean, you need salaciousness in your criticism now to catch the reader. You can't just write a review anymore. It's got to have a crazy headline, or it's got to have, hyperbolic statements.
Bothers the hell out of me.
Whatever. I don't even read reviews. I don't. I know people will religiously read reviews of, Roger, used to read reviews of Roger Ebert or Manola Dargis or these A.O. Scott, these famous reviewers. And I mean, not they're famous to people who read reviews, I guess, but still, it doesn't.
Oh no, they're famous.
It doesn't do enough for me to. I mean, I feel like there's enough resources out there that I can determine what I want to watch and what I don't want to watch.
Yeah, it's called your soul, your brains, your eyes, your head, and your body. That's what determines what I like, what you like, what we go out and look for. That sounds kind of snooty, but I don't mean it that way.
Yeah.
I'm saying that we don't need, a critic's not going to bend me either way. I read critic reviews after I see something, just to see what people thought and whether or not, what didn't I get, or what is
did I
ever,
miss? Yeah.
I read a lot of Boyhood reviews because I was perplexed about that one.
Trying to figure out.
Trying
what
to
you
figure
missed.
out whatever. But what I was trying to say was that, if you just use your own instinct about something, you know what you like in this world. So if it's in the trailer, it's in the trailer. I've never not gone to something because it got a bad review, or I've never gone to something because it's gotten a good review. Word of mouth, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But you're right. He is making a statement about this. And what's interesting about the statement he's making about critics is he can't change. They want him to stay Hammy the Bear, but they want to tear him apart as that character because he gets really bad reviews in this series of movies that he does. But yet the critics are using fake names to write the reviews because they don't want to be known as the critics who write these reviews.
Yeah.
So
it's a comment on the internet. It's YouTube commenters. That's what it's saying. It's like nobody has any accountability except for the people that are making the art, because they can't be separated from their art. But anybody can get on there and say, "Oh, it's horrible," and have no repercussions. You can't ever go back to that person and be like, "What do you mean? Why don't you do something better?" You can't do that.
You know what I find interesting is, why spend the time to write something about what you think sucks? Like, what's the point? I mean, okay, so you think it sucks, but now you took the time to tell people you thought that it was sucked. So you thought about it enough to make a comment about how much it sucked, but you didn't take the time to learn about why it probably was not as bad as you thought it was.
I think that film criticism may be a little bit, like formal film criticism, may be a little bit different than YouTube commenters, because the way that people at least used to use film critics is that, I've not seen all of these movies. I've not seen every movie from 1935 to now, but this other guy has seen 70% of them, so maybe I'll ask him what he thinks, and that will help to steer me towards the movie that I want. The other thing is that movies are so accessible now. It used to be like you had to watch the movie in the theater, or that's it.
That's it.
You will never see this again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and
why
there were
people,
like 2 showings.
That's why people were waiting in line and watching Star Wars every other day for the whole summer, because they didn't know when was going to be the last time they were going to see it. And then, you have video and all that stuff, and the whole landscape changes. Now it's like, okay, I didn't watch it in the theater, but I'm going to watch it on Redbox, or I'll watch it on iTunes or whatever, Amazon Prime.
You can evaluate where you're going to spend your money.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when you want to spend the time on it,
Yeah.
And so I kind of wish I would have watched this in the theater, because I wish I would have given this movie money.
I thought so too, and I also thought it would have been fun to watch it on a Friday or Saturday night, night. Yeah.
Opening day.
Yeah, with the crowd.
Yeah.
Because it probably was a lot fun.
It would have been great.
A lot funner. No.
More fun.
Thank you. With a crowd. I thought about that. I want to say something about what you said about the critics and what you said about, film analysis as a serious thing. And I do believe that exists. The only thing that I look for is usually a pattern of what somebody says is good. And only thing I look is for recommendations from that person. Like if you recommended something now, I would take it way more seriously than 9 months ago when we first met, because now I know where you're coming from with film. My buddy Terry, who I just mentioned earlier, my buddy Eric, if they say watch these films, I'm usually going, okay, because my buddy Eric gave me True Detectives, and he goes, watch this.
Yeah.
Trust me, watch this. And I gave him Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's obsessed with it.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
he's in the final season right now. He's obsessed.
Wait, so he hadn't seen it at all, and then you turned him onto it?
And then he just like ate it.
He just ingested.
Yes. Show after show, season after season. He would call me like 3 days later. Okay, season 3 was so incredible. And we'd go off on it. Yeah. So it's like what I did with Mad Men. You know, when you have the time and the show, you know, it's like watching an hour's worth of TV. Instead of flipping, you actually watch the show.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long once
Cutting all the fat out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So people who would recommend 2001 or would recommend Schindler's List or would recommend Dogma. I mean, I know that's a leap right there, but people who seem to have a general opinion about film for its artistic nature or its even just for entertainment purposes, I usually don't listen to what they have to say about the movie. I listen to them say, go see this movie, and then I'll go back and read what they have to say about it. So as for the hateful things on the internet, I just think, okay, good, but what are you going to do when you're an older person and you go back and look at all the mean things you said? It's not going to make you feel good. So you might as well just...
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of the soapbox.
No, that's fine. On the music front, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a song that kind of came in every once in a while, and it was Haitian Fight Song from Charles Mingus.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, initially it was like a reimagining of the song, but then there's a particular scene where he's in the limo. It's close to about 3/4 of the way through the movie, and I believe it's after he's had his kind of breakdown,
right?
And then it's the full on like the Charles Mingus recording that kind of people know about that was put out on record and stuff. So that was really cool because when I heard it initially, I was like, that kind of sounds like Haitian Fight Song, and it's cool because the movie that he's doing is a Haitian revolutionary movie. So I was like, wow, that's
clever.
And it works. It works in that situation. And did you see Ben Vereen? Did you
of course,
him?
Immediately.
And
I
took
knew
me a while
exactly.
and I was like, who is that guy?
Yeah, I knew exactly who he was in the movie too.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as he walked away and she went, "Who is that?" I knew exactly what the answer was.
Oh yeah.
As soon as he walked up to him, I was like, yep.
I could tell it was a little bit more familiarity.
Yeah,
than...
and that's a tad bit of a criticism for me about this film. There was some stuff that was a bit obvious, like when he takes her phone. It's so obvious that he's taking, or here she goes, here, hold my phone.
Device.
Yeah, something's coming from that.
I think the biggest problem, I didn't have any problems with this movie. The biggest issue that I had with this movie is how they dealt with the romance. And it just seemed, the whole movie was kind of like heightened and, in the head of the main character and specific, that it kind of had this generic romantic comedy quality to it as far as that part was concerned. I was like, I mean, you got Rosario Dawson. I mean, like, how can we move this around to make it unique?
He saves it at the end, though.
I think it was a little schmaltzy. But
I loved it. It wrapped it up because this movie started out being good, and then in the middle of it, it had the potential to be great. Like, it made a lot of critics' top 10 list this year.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And so that pulled me towards it. When you had recommended it, I was like, oh yeah, I want to see this. Was it one of those I thought maybe this is going to be that film that I completely missed, that I wish we could go back and do our top 5 and say top 5 is a top 5.
Yeah.
But, wow, I just thought
that would have been cool.
Yeah,
we would have done that. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it probably would not have made my list.
Yeah, I don't think it would have made mine either. But
it's one of those films where, I don't know, he felt like he was holding back, or maybe the extra 15 minutes that he didn't want to put in because he wanted to make it an hour-and-a-half comedy. I have no idea. There's not a lot of bad things I want to say about it, but it just felt unfinished in places. I thought, the whole thing with the Bravo reality star wedding was clever. Every time you saw her, it said Bravo. I thought that was clever to see that side of it.
Sure.
But that's left unresolved at the end of the film, sort of. There are things that could have gelled it together. There was one, oh, I know, the big one. The title of the movie comes from everybody sitting around talking about their top 5
Rappers.
hip hop artists. And it's interesting how each character, you can tell something by their choice of top 5. I think he should have leaned on that a little bit more. Oh, Jerry Seinfeld puts Eminem in there. Of course, the white guy puts Eminem in there. It should have been played on a little bit more so you can understand why he thought. You know, I did notice that Jay-Z makes quite a few of the people's list, which of course he doesn't.
Do you know?
Yeah,
why?
because he executively produced the film.
Him and Kanye spent all the money on it.
Yeah, and also Watch the Throne is the kind of the running song in the movie, and it's a great song. Good for them. I love that album. But I thought it would have been interesting to. It's sort of just a sidebar that's what they're doing in the film. You know, when he goes to his family and he revisits his roots, if you will, that's where the conversation starts. And it would have been nice for them to go, this is why your comedy as this superstar, Chris Rock, the character in the movie, is like this, because you like this guy and you like this guy and I like this guy, because the I guess cousin, who's the larger lady, tall, who doesn't want the husband to go to the bachelor party.
Yeah. She was at the bachelor party.
Yeah, I know. It was great. She's like, we need to keep our ones. I laughed. That was funny. But when she goes, iced tea, and she starts to quote,
Defend it?
and she defends it by quoting Ice-T. You learn something about who she is as a person, why she's attracted to that type of music. I think he could have played on that and tightened the movie together with that, because at the end he says to her, what's your top 5? And she gives it to him, and you could tell by her choices what her character is like. I just think it should have been more of a, it was a motif, but it was just sort of a throwaway more than anything.
Yeah, it was a thread, but
it seemed to have been something bigger in the original script, and maybe it got cut down. Maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, it was cool the way they did it, but I just think it could have tied it together. That was a little bit of a beef for me.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I said, I mean, yeah, with your issues and my issues, I had a lot of fun with it. It was funny, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and like I said, I do wish I would have seen it in the theater.
Me too.
I thought it would have been a lot better. And we are kind of getting, at least I'm kind of getting away from seeing comedies in the theater, and it seems the exact opposite of what we should be doing. We should be going to the theater for watching comedies, and we should be going, staying home with our surround sound systems and all that stuff to watch the action movies, because, I mean, it's better to laugh with somebody than it is to laugh by yourself.
I think we've talked about this because we talked about this with in relation to the Scary Movie show that we did.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's such a hit or miss genre that when, $10, $12 is a significant amount of money for your budget for the month, then, if I had a budget where I could see a movie a day like Tom Cruise did, I'm not saying that out of jealousy. I'm saying that out of,
Well, he just has people bring him movies.
Right. Well, even better. I mean, if I could do that, I would go see those movies in the theater if I had the time and the money. I totally would. Yeah. It just seems to be, you have to be more selective about comedies because they don't seem to work as much.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting with.
Yeah, if you're putting $300 million on the screen, then it's
Yeah, I mean, well, the big
there's going to be a certain level of quality, or especially craft, on the screen.
The scale of something like Guardians of the Galaxy or Avatar is important on the big screen. Is it important to see drama?
Is it $300,000? I meant $300 million. Sorry.
I knew what you meant.
Okay.
I knew exactly what you meant. I think everybody up to this point, since we've talked about money throughout this show, knows what we were talking about. But it doesn't seem as relevant to see a film that's a comedy. You're right, though. It does make for a better experience. But when a horror film sucks on film, it's bad. When a comedy stinks, it's really bad. It makes you fighting mad. And so it becomes this no longer fun date movie laughing time. It becomes this
treacherous.
Yeah, this I'm pissed at the world because you're supposed to be making me. And unfortunately, making a comedy for film has got to be devastating because you have no idea what's going to work. And when they work plays that are funny, they work them to death with preview audiences to see what's funny, what's not funny, what's working. It's about timing. You can't get any of that when you're filming something.
Yeah.
It's only till you see it in the theater.
Did you ever do preview screenings of comedies? I mean, did you see that happen? Did you see movies just
You mean when I
fail?
test marketed?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny that you asked that because I don't remember a lot of comedies, but it was not a pass or fail type of situation. It was their idea.
But you could tell in the theater.
Yes.
If people were.
Yes, you could. You could tell. But it was all about marketing. That job was about marketing. It was about figuring out how to market the movie. What I used to do, for people who don't know what we're talking about, is I worked for an organization that would test market movies. We would stand outside of movie theaters and offer free tickets to upcoming movies. Sometimes you could tell them the title of the movie and the star of the movie. Most times when it was something big, like a Mission Impossible, you kept it quiet because you didn't want people to just go see it because it was Tom Cruise. So they would gather up, and you had a certain percentage of middle-aged Caucasian males, middle-aged females who were Latino. You had to have a certain percentage of the population in the crowd, and then they would test market the movie for the crowd, test screen it, and then see how it played. For example, the movie Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio. We tested that in Emeryville outside of San Francisco. It didn't do that well test marketing. Actually, Baz Luhrmann was there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was weird. It was before I really knew who he was, though. And he was pissed because he was getting kind of bad scores. He's like, they don't understand my film. And
It's in iambic pentameter.
Yeah.
What does he expect?
Well, here's the interesting thing about it, is that when you do those test marketing screenings, you have a smaller group come back after the film and you talk about their reviews with them. And people were saying it was so clipped and so fast paced. It was like we were watching an MTV video. It was too much. Clip, 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 clip. It was like an MTV video. Well, what did they choose to do? They chose to advertise it to the MTV generation at the time. And those kids those teenagers that I worked with when I worked at the group home loved that movie. And they love Shakespeare now because of that movie. They marketed it towards that.
Yep.
So comedies, I can't specifically remember anything jumping out as a comedy that we test marketed that failed, but you could tell when you could feel the movie makers sometimes would stand in the back of the audience, or the people with the film. I don't really know who they were at the time. And it sounds way more important what I did than it really was. It was literally standing outside a movie theater and giving away free passes. That's basically, and I got to go to cool places to do it too.
Yeah.
But San Francisco, you can't beat it. But and you could feel that they were anticipating a moment from the film, and then it didn't work, and they were like, okay, so what do we have to do? Do we have to cut that? Do we have to? And they would actually ask those small groups that come back. So actually 400 or 500 people select parts of movies that you might get to see or I might get to see based on these test marketing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The famous one is Fatal Attraction. They test marketed that. She leaves with the little girl, killing Michael Douglas and Anne Archer, or whatever her name was. I think that's her. And the test marketing audience went, what? No way. She can't get away with this. So they recut the ending. She ends up dying in the film.
Yep.
And, it was this big hit. And now, since it's been released on Blu-ray, you get to see that.
Oh, the other ending?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
You sure do. Yeah. It's interesting. Anyway, overall, I have no idea how comedy's doing those things, but I can imagine it must be a really hard thing for Chris Rock to put a film together and then get it out there, and then the expectations of him being funny. Oh, the other small minor thing really quick. I thought that you mentioned that the Haitian film, the Haitian revolutionary film that he was trying to, he was advertising it inside this movie. I thought they should have taken that a little bit more seriously. I like your take on it. That was kind of Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
But I thought it would have been better if it had looked like a real Oscar contender and nobody would take it seriously. I thought it would add a layer to it.
I think that what they were trying to do, or what he was trying to do in that, is that he was trying to say that he's a serious actor and that he can do serious movies, but he was doing it the wrong way. He picked a movie that it sounds like the only reason why he picked that movie is because that it was a serious movie, not because of the subject matter. Because when you hear that somebody critiqued Oh no, I think it might have been the Rosario Dawson character said like, oh yeah, I saw the movie and it was crazy that, it was neat that he got to kill like whatever 3,000, white men on screen, but you didn't even put in the fact that he got his head, chopped off and paraded around. It's like, so the movie that he made was like hey, I'm a black guy killing a bunch of white guys, getting back at them for, oppressing us, as opposed to like a real movie that would have been completed in a way that would have, taken that more seriously.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Also, it was a stopgap for him because he hadn't gotten up and gotten on stage and done stand-up. And in the movie, he gets on stage, he does stand-up, he's jazzed about it, he realizes that he loves it again, he's re-energized, and that's kind of where, I think that's kind of where the character is moving towards getting back up and doing more stand-up and focusing on that part of his life. Now, I don't know if that's what Chris Rock wants to do or not, but that's what I got out of the movie.
Yeah, I can see that. I just felt like it would have layered it in a different way for me if he just wasn't being taken seriously. Not that,
but then it just seems sad.
Exactly. Then when he has his breakdown and drinks again, spoiler, then it would have been that much more serious, and it would have given a depth to it that comedies that are really, really funny have, that make them even that much more funny because they have such a depth to them. There's a depth to Bridesmaids. I mean, it's a funny movie overall, but their relationship, Maya Rudolph's and
Kristen Wiig.
Yes, thank you. Their relationship is sweet. It's got depth to it. It's got soul to it. And I just think that for me personally, how could anybody take Chris Rock's character seriously running through the jungles with the machete? I mean, it looks like Hammy the Bear does
With
machete.
a machete. Yeah.
I get why the movie failed. It was an obvious take on it, and I thought there were so many different ways he could have gone that would have made it not obvious, that it would have made it more interesting for me. I see why he did what he did, and I get what you're saying, and you're right. He found that's not really his true calling, at least not in this
It's
film.
not the character's true calling.
Yeah, it's not the character's true calling, although I do think it is Chris Rock's true calling to do something that's going to be unexpected at a deeper level, finger quotes, that people are expecting him to do. I do think he has that in him, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't know. There's just something he could have tweaked it just a little bit more. It would have tied it together. Because for me, it was just right there, but not 100%. It's like he drew one solid line on a chalkboard and then just skipped accidentally. And then went, no, let me get back. And there's a little curve in the line, and then he gets back onto the straight line. I don't know if that analogy makes sense, but there's something just amiss a little bit for me for this film, but not enough for me to go, you shouldn't see it. You should see it. Period.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
should. You should
see it. All right. Well, if you want to give us any comments on this, you can get us on our website. You can put comments on the website, actorandengineer.com. You can tweet us, actor engineer. I'm doing it in a different order, and so I'm trying to change it up a little bit.
That's all right.
And then you can also get us on Facebook.com/actorandengineer. So definitely let us know what you think. If you've seen Top 5, then let us know. If you got any ideas for new episodes or any movies that are coming up that you're excited about, or trailers that we didn't talk about that we need to see, then definitely let us know. So all right, well, I guess we'll see you next week.
Until then.
Bye.